I wasn't sure how to display this, so I'm wearing it. Hey, this is Carrie with Canary Quilts, and we are on week 2, but it's step 1 and 2 of the Sunshine Daydream quilt. Step 1 and 2 is going to be doing this inner teal and orange ring right here. That's what we're going to be working on today. You can see it back here, this inner ring. And you can see it right here around me. There is our ring. But yeah, this is a paper piece quilt, mostly paper piece. And it's a lot of big pieces. Like, this is a big ring compared to some of the ones I've done in the past. So it was really not too hard. It really wasn't too hard at all. There's 8 sections in this ring, and if you know how to do one section, you can get all 8 done. The hardest part, and it's really not that hard because the way you cut the fabric, you cut these orange rectangles. When you cut them, you actually cut them from light to dark. That's how the fabric is. So if you leave them in the stack from light to dark, then you get this nice gradient going around of the orange. And then the teal's all one color, so you can just grab off the top for that one. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. You'll get notified for next week's video, which is step 3 and 4. If you're curious, if you're paper piece curious, you know, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and you can watch how this goes together. This is going to be a really fun quilt. I love paper piecing. I forget how much I love it until I do it. Just getting these beautiful points. It's just so fun. And yeah, so I'm just gonna walk you through how I do this and give you a few notes along the way of what I found out, and we get our first ring paper piece done. This is what the back looks like. So yeah, let's get started. All right, welcome to week 2 of the Sunshine Daydream paper piece quilt. Sew along. Step 1 and 2 is what is planned for today, and what step 1 and 2 is going to give us is this ring of teal and orange. To get ready for this, for steps 1 and 2, we will need, this is fabric D, this is fabric Q, these are the 2.5 by 4.5s. These are the 3.5 by 4.5s, I believe. But we had cut these previously last week, and these are kind of on a gradient, and I'm going to leave them that way. So as I sew, I'm going to just pull from the top, so we'll have a gradient like they do on the front. So you're going to need your fabric Ds and your fabric Qs. We will need... You don't need one, but it certainly helps a lot to have an add a quarter ruler. I have 2 sizes. I have a 6-inch and a 12-inch. The 6-inch isn't quite as wide, but it may work for this. I'll have to see. Otherwise, I'll use this one. It's a little wider. It doesn't really matter. They'll both work. You can use a regular ruler, but I like these because they have this ridge, and they'll bump up against the fabric. Or the paper. See how it stops? So you know you're going to get that 1/4 inch. A rotary cutter. I have my wool mat for ironing, and I'm going to have my iron right here. So we're working on foundation 1, and there's 8 of them, and they provide all 8 for you here. I have cut this off the bigger piece of paper because that paper was huge. So I've just cut off foundation 1 here. It tells you, it's very nice, it tells you need fabric D, you need fabric Q. D, Q, D, Q. The numbers tell you what order you're going to go in. So you're going to place the first fabric D here, and then the number 2 is going to go on top of it, and we're going to sew this line. Iron it over, trim, put fabric D on top of fabric Q, sew on this line, iron it over, trim. So you'll follow the numbers and go that way. This pattern does assume that you have paper piecing knowledge. So I'm going to basically run through how I do paper piecing and show you how I do it. It's not much different than most people do it, but a lot of people like to watch first and then piece. So we need to get these all separated into 8 different pieces. Don't cut on these lines. We want outside paper to work with. Okay, there's my pile of 8. We're going to build all 8 of these separately. And then we're going to put them together in pairs to finally make our ring. Okay, so before we get started sewing, I wanted to do one first to just see if there's anything I found that needed to be changed or anything like that. The only thing I'm thinking is you may want to make some copies of Foundation 1. Now, I didn't make a mistake here, but I was thinking, what if you make a mistake and you need one of these? They only provide you with 8, which is what you need. So you may want to make a copy or a couple copies of this before you get started, just in case something happens, that it rips up or you gotta tear out something. Hopefully you will not have to do that, but you may want to make a couple copies of this. So, just want to say that before we get started. This went together really easily. These already pre-made rectangles worked out great. So, yeah, we can get started. So, this is what it's going to look like. I haven't trimmed it yet. Fabric D, we want to grab. We will be sewing on the printed side. So we'll flip it over. I'm going to draw these lines just so you can see them. I can see through these, so that's not an issue, but just so you can see what I'm doing and the coverage I need to make. So this is our first sewing line right here. And we want our fabric number 1. We're going to be going in order, so this is 1. We want fabric 1 to be face up. We want it to be 1/4 of an inch past our sewing line. And we want to make sure we have coverage of this line and this line, because this is where we're going to be cutting it out. You don't want to cut on the inner line here. You want to cut on the outer line. So this is that outer line, and we have coverage. So just going to kind of pin that in place right now. Now we want to take fabric Q, and that's our second piece, and we want to layer it right sides together, so it would be right side down on top. And we're going to match these seams right here, because they'll be 1/4 of an inch over this sewing line. I am just going to kind of pin those in place. I can because of the size of the paper. Sometimes I can't, and I'll just put a piece of tape right here. But we are, for this first piece, we're ready to go. We want to flip it over and we want to sew. I'm going to start sewing outside the line and come right down and sew on the outside of the outer line. Okay, so I'm over here at my machine with the first sewing line. We're sewing between 1 and 2. I'm going to start outside of this outside line. And my stitch is set to 1.5 and my default is 2.2, so it is a shorter length stitch. And I'm going to sew out past that outside line. Okay, here's my first seam right there. And I am going to iron it towards our number 2 fabric, which is the teal here. And there we go. That's the start of our Foundation 1 paper piece. So let's flip it over grab some junk mail or some cardstock or something kind of stiff and put your printed side face up. And we're going to go to the line between 2 and 3 now. And we're going to put our cardstock right on that line and fold it on that line. And if you need to, you can pull that paper, pull the fabric from the paper there. Take our add a quarter, and it's got that ridge on it, so we can push it right up against our cardstock, which is folded on the line. We can trim, and we get a 1/4 inch seam right there. It's awesome. So now what we want to do is take our fabric D and here's our outer line here. Here's our outer line here. And we want to line up this corner down here where this point is. Line it up right along there. Because we need most of the coverage, because our next seam line is over here. We need most of the coverage down here. So take that point, line it up down there with that point, and line it up together here. And then we'll flip it, hold it very carefully, flip it, and we're gonna sew on the next line between 2 and 3. So I'm over here, I'm going to be doing between 2 and 3, and I'm just going to very carefully make sure no fabrics get caught. Lay that in there, turn it, place it down, and I'm going to sew from outside the outer line down this line to the outside of this line. So there's our next seam. It's really hard to see on here because the thread blends really well. The only thing, the big thing you want to do when you're flipping your fabrics going over there is just to make sure this doesn't scoot off of the seam line there. Now we are gonna iron towards that third fabric piece. And that's how all of the rest of these pieces are going to be put together. So we're going to flip it. We're going to put it on the next sewing line between 3 and 4. We're going to fold it. Pull our fabric off there. Take our add a quarter ruler, butt that ridge up, that ledge. Trim our 1/4 inch seam. Take our next teal fabric, line it up down there next to that point right here. And then we're going to hold it, we're going to flip it, take it to the machine, and sew from here to there. So let me get this, make sure I get it lined up. And flip it. Let's go sew it. So I've got the sewing line between 3 and 4 now. There's my seam. And we're going to iron towards that 4th piece. Repeat. Go to the line between 4 and 5. Line up your cardstock. Fold your piece. Pull your fabric back if need be. Trim. Turn it over. Grab fabric D. Line it up down here on the point and on the seam line here. Not the seam line, the 1/4 inch seam. Hold it carefully, flip it, take it over the machine, and sew it. Okay, I'm over here with the seam between 4 and 5. Iron it towards piece 5. Now we are on our last seam. Go on that line between 5 and 6. Fold it. Pull your fabric down. Take your add a quarter, butt it up, trim your 1/4 inch seam. Flip it over and take our teal and line up down here on this point. And with the seam allowance, we're going to flip it and we're going to sew that last line. Alright, so I'm over here with the line between 5 and 6. Alright, we can iron this open towards that fabric 6. And we are done with our second foundation one. So one thing you can do, which I can't do on camera, but hold your paper, hold your foundation one up so the print side is facing you, put it towards a light or a window, and you can see through it and make sure that you have fabric coverage all the way around this outer line. Because it's really easy to see through this paper and you can see if you have fabric coverage, and I do. I have fabric coverage all the way around this outside line. So we are good. So I have 2 of these done. And they're going to progressively get darker in the orange here. So all of these foundation pieces are exactly the same. They will be constructed exactly the same as this one. And I am going to trim all of these when I get done. So I'm going to finish the remainder 6 of these, and then we'll come back and we'll show you how to put this ring together. Okay, so I have all my paper piecing done, all 8 of my foundation ones. One thing I want to note is these were cut from width of fabric, so you probably got more than you needed. I did. So you can see right here I decided I wanted to get more variation, so I went a little darker. But you may want to pick out the pieces you need. So you need 24. And you may want to start picking out 24 from these that go from light to dark. So you probably have a little more variation than I will going around. I go from fairly light to fairly dark. So I just wanted to let you know that. So now that we have all 8 of these done, I've looked at them. I've made sure I've got fabric coverage on all of it. We now need to cut along this outside line. So I'm going to get that done on all 8 of these, and then we can start putting them together. So you have some little notches here. You'll probably want to make sure you get those. But just very carefully follow that outside line. And there. There's part of our ring. And mine are still in the order that I did them, so they will be in order from dark to light. So that's how I'm going to cut these. I'm going to set that there. I'm going to go to the next one. Okay, I've got my foundation 1 pieces finished, all 8 of them. I have put 2 together to see how it works. Works great. You can see that, they match on the top there. And I have these, actually have these stacked from lightest to darkest. And this was my lightest piece, and I'm going to be going light to dark around this way. So we want to put these together in pairs. And so what I'm going to do is, since I want light and dark to go this way, I'm going to pull my lighter piece off the top and move it to the left. Take my next piece and we're going to line these up on this edge. And you want this point, the way I found it is you want your seam point here to match up with that point right there where you cut these notches off. Match that point up, match your edge up, and the top part here will pretty much, you know, match up. So I still have my same foot in and I'm following the line. So I'm just starting on the outside and sewing right down this line. And then we'll come back and I'll show you how to iron it. I've got 2 ring pieces or foundation 1 pieces together, and I'm going to just sew right down that line. There we go. So they want you to iron in the same direction as your other seams, and our other seams are going this way. So that's how I am going to iron this seam, is this way. So I've got those 2 pieces, then these are the 2 darker pieces. I'm going to lay those on top. Again, I'm going to take this to the left and then put this one on the right. Line that seam up with that point of our notch. Pin it, pin your edge, and sew on the line. So there's 4 pairs put together, and again I am going to just restack these with the lightest on the top. Now we're going to pair it up again. Pull this to the left. Take the next one on top and line it up just like we have been. Bring it back. Iron it towards to the left because that's how all my seams are going, or to the left. Set that up there, take the top piece, pull it to the left, add the bottom piece to the right side, line the seam up with the notch, line the edge up, now we have our ring. So, you need to put these 2 seams together. Let's start with this one. take that seam, line your corners up basically. This is a little different. Line your corners up here. And your notch, your bottom notch part will line up with the circle and sew on the line. One last seam to do in our ring. This one you can do again where you line that seam up with the corner of that notch. Line up your edge. And sew on the line. And seams are going to the left still. So we'll iron that to the left. There's our ring. Look at that, that's so cool. That's where it starts and gets darker and ends right there. Awesome. That is awesome. So that really wasn't very hard at all. You get one of these foundation pieces down, you get them all down. You know how to do them all. And then it's just pairing them up and making sure that you keep track of from light to dark. Also, I didn't need any extra one of these, but it's always a good idea to make a copy of one or two of these, or make a couple copies of one of these, just in case. Let's mark off week 2. Step 1 and 2 is done. Good job if you've done it. Great job. Good job. Congratulations, pre-congratulations if you're going to be doing it. It's not hard at all. You know, send me pics. I'm going to be posting about this in my Facebook page, so put some pictures in the comments with your ring of fire done. And I'd love to see it. Yeah, let me know how it's going for you. But yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this. I had a lot of fun making this video. And we will see you for step 3 and 4. Hit subscribe button, hit notification bell. You get notified when I'm on to the next steps. Plus, you'll get notified for all the other fun stuff we do on this channel. So you'll enjoy it. So, see you later. Bye.